We welcome our speaker this morning, Adam Brian Salazar. He says of himself, "I am the Community Liaison for the Historic Preservation Department at Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. I have been with the nation for over 2 years. I am friendly, helpful, polite, and have a good sense of humor. I'm also a dedicated father with 2 beautiful children." Again, welcome, Adam. We have a small remembrance for you in the form of a bookmark. Come on up. Here's this.
Thank
Your turn.
you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Adam Salazar. I work for the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma Historic Preservation Department. And what we do is we protect, we'll preserve Choctaw history and culture by protecting historic sites and sacred artifacts to the Choctaw people. So today I'm here to speak about the original code talkers and a battle which they were involved in. A lot of people think that, Navajos were the first code talkers, but Navajos weren't used till later. So I'm just, I wanted to speak about these. I'm happy to speak and honored to speak about these people. So these Choctaw code talkers, who were at the time were known as telephone warriors, they left a legacy not just for the Choctaw people, but for the state of Oklahoma and in America. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. So World War I was from 1914 to 1918, with United States joining in 1917. At this time, thousands of Native Americans had joined. They joined for many reasons. Some joined to better their lives for them and their families. Some joined to gain respect as warriors, and some joined to defend their tribes and their land. So when United States entered World War I, Oklahoma had a single National Guard regiment known as the 1st Oklahoma Infantry, which leads me to my next slide here. This is the 36th Division. It was made of the 141st Infantry, the 142nd Infantry, the 143rd Infantry, and the 144th Infantry. Around 4 months after the United States entered World War I, the 1st Oklahoma Infantry transferred from Fort Sill, Oklahoma to Camp Bowie, Texas, where the 36th Infantry Division was assembled and trained. The patches in the middle represent, the arrowhead represents Oklahoma and the T represents Texas. That was the 36th Division's patch. The 142nd Infantry, known as Company E, was also known as the Indian Company. This is because out of 215 men, almost all of them were native, and around 60 of them were Choctaw. So, if you look at the picture, you'll notice that most of them are Native Americans, except for the officers who are non-native. But a lot of these soldiers, Native soldiers, came from boarding schools, where they was like pretty much made for war. They in boarding schools they made their beds every morning. They put down the flags. They lined up for dinner, and so they were kind of like made for the war, I would say. And so the first unit of the division transferred to France for action in May 1918, and the last in August 1918. The first use of the Choctaw Code Talkers played a key role in American attack on Forest Farm during World War I, when they used their native language to communicate orders and coordinate the assault. The French were assigned twice to take down the Germans' position, who were cut down in great numbers and lost hundreds of men The 36th Infantry pulls up and is given the task. 8 Choctaws were selected by Captain E.W. Horner in order to send messages in Choctaw and translate back to English. One of the Choctaws' first messages was used to extract 2 companies on the night of October 26, 1918. The 36th Division kills approximately half of the 500 there, and the others begin to give up. The Americans only lost 14 men in the whole assault. This showed that even though the Germans were listening in, they gave Americans the element of surprise. For months, the Germans had a well-fortified area that no one was able to push until the 36th Infantry took it in only 2 days. Code talkers continued to be used after the battle to assist in evacuating wounded and casualties. 2 weeks after the battle, on November 11th, the armistice was signed. So if you look at the pictures, in the middle would have been the telephone they would have used. They have different ways of communication during the war. They used color flare guns, pigeon run. It even had runners to deliver messages, and they said 1 out of 4 messengers were either caught and captured or they were killed. So the best way to communicate was through the telephone. The Battle of Forest Farm was from August 26 to 27, 1918, and on the left is a map of the battle. If you at the top is like a horse shape. The Germans were elevated. If you look at the left picture, the Germans were elevated like 40, 50 feet, and they were surrounded by a river, so they couldn't be flanked, and they were just shot down on anything that approached them. So what the Choctaws did, they translated messages in Choctaw, and like a barrage of bullets. They would start at the bottom and work their way. They were sending fire, and the Americans would walk behind the fire until eventually the shots rained on top of the Germans, and they were forced into their dugouts, to the trenches, and the Americans just end up on top of them and captured them. Even though this was a small battle of a much bigger war, it showed how the Choctaw language was used as a weapon. And the irony of this is that while this was going on in America, in the boarding schools, some students were being physically punished for speaking their native language. Here are a few words that they would have used that the Choctaw code talkers came up with. For example, like the word first battalion, the tribe would call it the 1 grain of corn, which is Tanchi Nihi Achafa, and then 2 grains of corn would have been Tanchi Niha Tuklo, and just a few lists of more words. They got stone, it's just Tali. Warrior is Tushka. So this is just a list of words that they came up with. This is the one of the most famous pictures. It's on the brochure. And these were some of the 8 men that were chosen during the Forest Farm, Battle of Forest Farm. And I would like to speak about these men. From the left is Solomon Lewis. From left to right is Solomon Lewis, Mitchell Bob, James Edwards, Calvin Wilson, and Joe Davenport with their captain E.W. Horner. And all these men, they treasured this picture. And even the captain, he kept this picture on his wall his whole life until he died. That's E.W. Horner on the right. He's the one that chose these men. So, Solomon Lewis was born April 22nd, 1899 at Hochatown, Eagle County, Choctaw Nation in Indian Territory. He later moved to Bryan County. He was a corporal in the 142nd Infantry, Company E. He was underage when he entered the armed services. He attended Armstrong Academy. When his older friends enlisted, Lewis pretended to be 18 so that he too could join. Solomon passed away February 1972 at the age of 72. Next to him, Mitchell Bob was born January 7, 1895, in Indian Territory. He died in 1922 at the young age of 27. James Edwards was born on October 1898 in Glover, Oklahoma. Edwards also, a few of these men out of the company, a lot of them went to Armstrong Academy, which is in, I believe it's in Caddo. It's close to Durant, but a lot of these men would have came from Armstrong Academy. James Edwards was a corporal in Company E in the 142nd Infantry. Edward passed away October 1962 at the age of 64. Calvin Wilson was born June 25, 1895 at Eagletown, Eagle County, Choctaw Nation, Indian Territory. He was a member of the 142nd Infantry and passed away in 1972 at the age of 77. Joe Davenport was from Findlay, Oklahoma, was born February 22, 1892, and died April 23, 1923, at the age of 31. He is buried at the Davin Family Cemetery at Tucker Ranch. And these men who aren't in the picture, they were part of it too. The one on the left, you can't see his name. His name is Noel Johnson. Then Ben Hampton, Tobias Frazier, and Robert Taylor. These were men a part of the 142nd Infantry. Noel Johnson was born August 1894 at Smithville, Indian Territory, and attended Dwight Indian Training School. He was sent home from France with pneumonia in 1919, and before he made it home, he died at the young age of 25. Benjamin Hampton was born May 31st, 1892 in Bennington. He was a private in the 142nd Infantry of Company E. Tobias Frazier was born August 1892 in Spencerville. He served in the 142nd Infantry. He passed away November 1975 at the age of 83. Robert Taylor was born January 13, 1894 in Idabel, McCurtain County. He was also a member of Company E. So these two men right here, they weren't part of the Battle of France, but they played a major role in World War I. The statue in the middle, we got a statue of this in front of the Choctaw Cultural Center. It's actually the Tuskahoma, the Red Warrior. The face was modeled after Joseph, Oklahoma. So if y'all ever see that statue, just know Joseph, Oklahoma. That's what the face was modeled after. But I'm gonna share a couple stories about these two men. Like I said, they weren't part of the battle, but they have a good story. Oldest leader was 34 when he joined the Army. He was in the 1st Division, the 16th Infantry. On the night of November 2nd, 1917, Leader's Company drew the first relief assignment, moving into the trenches at France. The following day, his company defended the flank in the first engagement of Americans in combat of World War I. On May 28, 1918, Leader was wounded and gassed during the American offense of Cantigny, but rejoined his division in July. In the next battle, he crawled through a ravine to attack a machine gun nest, getting within 60 feet of the enemy. Leader picked up a rifle and fought with the infantry after his own machine gun crew had all been killed. Attacking the German positions, Leader captured 2 machine guns and 18 enemy soldiers manning them. Fast forward at 1955, the Oklahoma House of Representatives praised Leader as an outstanding soldier of World War I. He's buried at Colgate, and he was buried in Colgate in 1961. A French artist was commissioned by the French government to paint a portrait of an ideal American soldier. This Choctaw Indian oldest leader was selected as his model. The painting is now in Paris in the Army Museum, and a reproduction is at the Choctaw Museum at Tuskahoma. The story of Otis, the oldest leader, they said he joined because him and one of his cattle partners were in Texas, and he kept getting mistaken for a spy. So as soon as he kept getting mistaken, they said after that he just immediately joined the Army. Joseph Oklahoma, he lived in McCurtain County. He was a member of the 141st Infantry. Private First Class Oklahoma Private First Class Oklahoma was cited as capturing more men in the Champagne sector of France than Sergeant York did in a comparable and more famous event in the Argonne Forest during the same time of October 11, 1918. About 5 weeks before the armistice in 1918, Oklahoma and his division were cut off from the rest of the company. As a scout, Oklahoma was in the lead when he and another 23 men came across a German machine gun emplacement with about 50 trench mortars. Oklahoma moved about 200 yards over open ground against artillery and machine gun fire, rushing the machine gun nest and capturing one of the guns. Turning the weapon on the enemy, the Americans held the Germans down with Oklahoma and Ben Carterby blistering fire for 4 days without food or water until they surrendered. Of the enemy, 171 were taken prisoner. There's a few monuments honoring these soldiers. In Fort Worth, they put up a plaque honoring the Choctaw Code Talkers at the Fort Worth Stockyards, and they put a monument for the World War I and World War II Choctaw Code Talkers and Broken Bow in front of the community center. I know this is hard to read, so if there's maybe afterwards, if y'all like to know exactly where these locations are at, I can share them with y'all. But what it is it's a Code Talkers highways, a list of Code Talker highways throughout Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma mainly. But in 2013, the Oklahoma State Legislation named 55 miles of State Highway 3 between Antlers and Broken Bow the World War I Choctaw Code Talkers highways. Just right in Durant, west, a little bit of west of Durant, there's a few signs there. Again, I'll share the list with y'all later. There's more in the list of them. Honors and awards. Again, I apologize for it's hard to see, but here's a list of honors and awards, and I highlighted a few special ones. In 1986, the Choctaw Medal of Valor was presented at the Labor Day Festival. In 1989, November 3rd, the Knight of the National Order of Merit medal was presented by the French government on the steps of the Oklahoma State Capitol by the former Prime Minister, Pierre Mizmir. In 2007, September 16th, a Lone Star Medal of Valor was presented by the state of Texas at a ceremony at Camp Mabry in Austin. In 2012, November 9th, the Choctaw Code Talkers were inducted into the Oklahoma Military Hall of Fame. In 2013, November, a Congressional Gold Medal was presented in Washington, D.C. This picture here was taken in October last year, 2023, when our chief, Gary Batten, and assistant chief went to visit France and paid their respects to the Choctaw Code Talkers and the soldiers of World War I. So this is something I learned a couple years ago. If you look at the bottom bullet, it says June 2nd, 1924. It marked the Indian Citizenship Act, granting citizenship to all Indians across the U.S. who were not already citizens. So a few years ago, a lot of people thought that's when Native Americans became citizens. But if you look at, now if I'll go back to the first two bullets, for the Choctaw Code Talkers, the Curtis Act of 1898 began the land allotment. And this is where all the 5 civilized tribe members became U.S. citizens by March 3rd, 1901. Also, when Indian Territory became the state of Oklahoma, November 16th, 1907, all Choctaws who lived in the territory were citizens through the Oklahoma Enabling Act. The Choctaw Code Talkers has an association where they pay respect to the Code Talkers, and this is their emblem. It's at the heart of the logo of the Choctaw Code Talkers Association is the military patch of the 36th Division of World War I, the division under which most of the Choctaw Code Talkers were served. The letter T within the center of the patch represents Texas companies, which was consolidated with the Oklahoma National Guard to form the 142nd Regiment of the 36th Division, which trained at Camp Bowie, Texas. The number 36 is superimposed on the letter T, which understandably represents the 36th Division, and there are 8 arrows from the men who helped, which symbolically electrified to stand for the Choctaw Telephone Squad, who were used to field phones to deliver the first Choctaw Code messages. These are the fallen soldiers and where they're at. The Joseph, Oklahoma is buried at, so if you're around the neighborhood, if you're ever towards Oklahoma, maybe like some of these places are like 45 minutes away from here, you can stop by and pay your respects. Joseph, Oklahoma is buried at Broken Bow, McCurtain County. Solomon Lewis is buried in Boswell, Choctaw County. James Edwards is buried in East Tallahena, LaFleur County. Joseph Davenport is buried in Davenport Family Cemetery at Tucker Ranch in Pushmataha County. Well, if you ever get time, like I said, I got the information for the highways I could send you. But these are some books I recommend. I got Judy Allen has a presentation on the Choctaw website. So these are a few links where I got my information from. Y'all can check out. And that's all I have. Yakoki, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for y'all time and allowing me to be here. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I can. If y'all have any questions, I can try my best to answer them. And if I don't have the answer, I can definitely find the answer and give them back to y'all. I think I know the answer.
How many different languages do Native Code Talkers use?
I want to say it was like 30-something, 36 or something like that during World War I. Right after that battle was used, like they used it through the whole war. There's other little fights. They used them to pull out. They used their native languages, not just the Choctaw language. I think it was like Cherokees and stuff to remove casualties and the wounded. So they were still using their language. Yep.
Have you ever heard how it developed that they started using the native languages? Who had the idea? Maybe someone of the maybe the Choctaws or another tribe suggested.
Yeah, I think they were just overheard speaking their language, because the Germans were known real good at tapping into phones, so they kept breaking codes and stuff. And since the native language has never been documented, or there weren't no books on them or nothing, they weren't able to break it. So they were overheard talking their language, and then one of the sergeants just had the idea.